Welcome to Scoop Road Order. Happy Cinco de Mayo. It is Friday. It is the weekend. It is time to go through some of the latest buzz going around Ohio State football. Coach has been on the road all week. It's been a great week for recruiting. Guys getting in and out of the facility. I'm sure they're probably flying back home to see their families, but they've been on the road all week, so we're going to give you an update on that. Got a superstar safety who's going to come take a visit. A tough one. We have to pull him from Georgia, but if we get him, it'd be great for our defense. A UAB safety is visiting this weekend. A 6-year guy. Interesting given the seeming numbers of safeties we have right now that they're still bringing in safeties. But hey, man, they're trying to upgrade this roster as much as possible. So we're going to get into that. And we're going to talk a little bit about this betting probe with Alabama baseball, which, not shockingly, is not on the front page of ESPN.com any longer. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and get into that. But first, as always, thank you guys so much. Our page is growing. We appreciate you guys leaving us that like, shouting out where you're from. Do that down in the comments. As always, let me know where you guys are from. Again, I love seeing California, Florida, Ohio, Japan, Europe. I mean, all over the place. It's a blast. Colombia, Median in the house. So it's pretty cool to see where you guys are watching from. So we appreciate that as always. If you enjoy this content, click subscribe. You'll get that, and also hit the little bell for the alerts if you like our live shows. You don't like missing those. We love the questions. We love the energy of the live shows. So thank you guys that tune into every episode. Appreciate you guys as always. That being said, happy Cinco de Mayo to my good friend Nevada Buck. Nevada, how are you?
Very good, Senor Barton. It's Cinco de Mayo. I say we do the entire show in Spanish, and I'll start up with say the things that are going down in Alabama baseball is muy mal, and it was a very strange story that ESPN is not even covering the story anymore, which is crazy. They're completely in the bag for the SEC that they would cover up in what my opinion is one of the biggest stories certainly going in sports today, maybe one of the biggest stories of the year.
Yeah, it's literally it's crazy right now. Again, I'm kind of shocked by it just because I think that as we get deeper into this, man, this is a pretty big story, man. This is something that I think we need to pay a little bit more attention to. As always,
Switch to my MacBook Pro for a second. As always, it's crazy. I can't believe that it's going on, but it's not on the cover of ESPN.com, so it must not be that big of a thing that there's their pinnacle team in the SEC is actually going through a pretty significant gambling probe. Nevada, how widespread do you think this kind of thing is? Guys on the phone trying to place bets in Indiana and Ohio. Obviously, raises a huge red flag. But are you surprised by this? Is this kind of something that all these people feared as states started to legalize gambling?
Well, I think what people have to remember, and I think people know this, but people have to remember that anytime that there's any deviation to the betting patterns, you know, it kicks off something. Red flags kind of go off, and there's an alert that goes off. So if you've got information about the Austin P Appalachian State college volleyball game, and you want to drop $20,000 on it, it just sets off a red flag, and they immediately check that out. And so in this case, where you've got gambling that's widespread and available and legalized in a lot of these states, and the Alabama coach decides to scratch his he knows he's going to scratch his starter and start I guess a fresh reliever or something, a guy that never started before. It goes to one of his high school friends and starts betting money on it. You just know that's going to get flagged by somebody, and they rolled up on this one really quick. And the fact that you had a college coach involved in a betting scandal, that's a big story. And I expect I hope that there's not more stories like this in the future. But as the proliferation of legalized gambling and guys that are kind of going out there and the ability to share information readily from your phone or from any device. I sadly think this probably goes on more than we know, and probably is going to go on more in the future.
Yeah, and I just think you have to be impossibly stupid because I mean obviously the guy's career is going to be over in baseball. Gambling on your own team, scratching the starter to bet on LSU is what happened, and they start the long relief guy. The starter was their ace, their best pitcher by far, and they scratch him, right before first pitch. So, and then you plunk down enough money to raise a red flag in Ohio and Indiana, and again, it's stupid, but people are greedy, and greedy people are stupid, and as pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, and this is a case of a guy being greedy and being a hog and getting slaughtered. So it's a sad deal. I hope they smack them hard enough. I hope they smack Alabama baseball. I hope they smack everybody involved, and it teaches them a lesson. Because again, I think that that's something that could really hurt sports, and we'll get away from that. We're going to move on to some Ohio State football, which is what everybody's tuned in to listen to. So Nevada, we're a couple weeks out of spring ball. We're hosting another safety from UAB, a kid who's a 6-year senior. He's been talking to Tim Walton and Perry Eliano every day. What do you make of the fact that we've got receiver, another safety visiting the program this weekend? When we've added Jihad Carter, we got Josh Proctor back. What do you make of this? Because I was a little surprised by that, but hey, I mean they're just trying to, I guess, turn the bottom of the roster. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think what they're viewing this as, hey, if this worst case, this guy just comes and maybe plays special teams, maybe he provides depth. The best case, maybe he balls out and he's better than what we have, and he provides some sort of little spark that we didn't have before. And Ryan Day and Ohio State are being absolutely ruthless about the roster right now. You know, um, we'll. I like the aggression from one standpoint. Um, I'm a little concerned about how it affects the culture. When you're going after these guys that I think provide marginal benefit, not like incremental benefit to the team. So I'm a little bit on the fence about this one, and I know that there was long debate inside Ohio State's halls before they even brought this guy in. So we'll see if anything comes of it this weekend. But it's definitely a weird one. But it's just a continuation of Ohio State kind of embracing the transfer portal, and they brought in 7 portal kids this year, more so than any other time in Ohio State history, and I would expect that's going to continue. This is certainly a decided change from Ryan Day and staff regarding how they're going to treat the transfer portal. So I think we're going to see more of this in the future. So get used to it.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you've got a kid who's a 6-year guy, there's not a lot of risk. I mean, he's not a guy who's going to be a multi-year guy. He's going to be here for, 6 months and he's out and he's going off to the league. But, I think they're trying to make that back end as solid as possible. I mean, we saw, our guys in the back end that went into the draft didn't get drafted last year. So, I mean, we had 3 guys that were starters for us, played a lot of football, and they weren't good enough for the NFL to give them the time of day through 7 rounds. So, I think, I think it's more that NFL mentality. Like, when I was in the NFL, it was wild because, when you're on a bad team, and I was on some really bad teams when I was in the NFL, I mean, they bring in 15, 20, 30 guys to try out on Tuesdays, which is the day that you're usually off. These guys were coming in, and we used to call it Transaction Tuesday. These guys would have full tryouts and put them through a combine and a workout, and invariably there'd be 2 or 3 guys from the team that were there on Monday that get whacked on Monday, Tuesday, and they bring in new guys to the practice squad, new guys to the active roster. So it's kind of what it's like now. I mean, they're always looking to improve the bottom of the room. Like if you can bring in a Josh Simmons and it supplants a kid who probably was a bad take, or a guy that isn't going to play, I mean, it upgrades the room. So I think I think it helps the competition. I think it helps these guys really never get comfortable, because you never know who's going to be coming in, who they're going to be hosting, who's going to hit the portal next. So, I think there's a little bit of anxiety unless you're a stone cold lock starter like a Donnie Jackson or a guy like that. Like otherwise, like you better stay on it. You better stay on point and not think that they're not going to try to come in and replace you. Because again, even when like I played, it wasn't as prevalent. But I mean, I always knew they were trying to bring in a 5-star tackle behind me to try to take my spot. And that's just part of the game. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't be like insulted when they bring in a superstar behind you, because, they want to, keep the team being prolific. And, in college, you're turning your roster over every 3 to 4 years. So you have to keep bringing guys in, and with the portal, it just enhances it, and it quickens the process of turning the bottom of the roster. So, but yeah, It's really interesting. In terms of traditional recruiting, we have a fantastic safety end. I'm going to bring up his portal. A name we're all familiar with, Peyton Woodyard, is a kid that he's going to be a tough pull. He's from Bosco, same as Mateo Uyangalele. Bosco seems that we have a pipeline between Mater Dei and Bosco that we're trying to build right now, and this would be a huge pull. Committed to Georgia, but he has committed to an official visit. So Nevada, are you feeling any better about potentially landing Peyton Woodyard, or is this going to go the way of Caleb Downs, who we were in on, and he was taking the photos with all the recruits, and then he still ends up going elsewhere.
Well, I think these are ones you have to take your swings on. I think Ohio State knows that it's an uphill battle to pull this kid, but Peyton's he's already a Southern California kid that's going to Georgia, so that's kind of half the battle right now. He's not staying home. You're not battling with USC, so you've already now it's just a question of which away program can you sell him on going to, and so I think if you're Ohio State, you've got to step in, take your swings and stuff. Ohio State's won plenty of these battles in the past, and there's no reason they can't. They don't believe they can win this one here in the future. But it's a tough pull. But I like it better when you've already got a kid that's already made the commitment to leave 2,500 miles away from home and go to Georgia, because I think that gives Ohio State a real shot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's that mentality where you want to go to the NFL and you gotta, make a sacrifice. Like sometimes, if you want to be, the best safety in the country, like I'd go play for, maybe Nick Saban, maybe Kirby Smart, maybe Perry Eliano. I mean, Tim Walton. I mean, it makes sense to continue and just keep grinding along and get better and better and better. But I just uh, it's a at some point in your life it becomes a business decision where you have to go and just keep grinding, and you got to go find where's your best fit. And I think that's why we see all these kids from South Florida come up to work for Brian Hartline, work with Brian Hartline, and because they want to go to the league, or these kids from Texas like Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Eventually, you got to do what's best for you, and it might not be close to home. It might be 3 time zones away, but when you look back in 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden you're a first round pick like Jackson Smith and Jigba was, or CJ Stroud, who came from Inland Empire, California, comes all the way to Ohio State, works with Ryan Day for 3 years. He's 3 and out, number 2 overall pick. Life has changed forever. Face of the franchise for the Houston Texans. Then it's that's the sacrifice you have to make, as opposed to going somewhere where it's a little bit more comfortable, a little bit easier, maybe easier on your parents to get to. It's a less expensive to fly there, but I love kids like this because he really wants to be sure that he's making the right decision. And if I'm a guy at some of these positions, if I look at Ohio State and I look at some of the talent and some of the lack of performance, like I'm thinking I can go there and play early, and that's something that like a kid like this could help us, because we're really trying to enhance some areas. If I'm like a defensive end, oh my God, where else would you rather go than Ohio State? Because JT's going to go pro. Jack has a big year; he could go pro. I mean, there's a barren wasteland of a depth chart behind some of these positions, and I just, for the life of me, I couldn't understand why we couldn't get some of the big time DMs last year, because you rotate in for a year as a freshman, and year 2 as a sophomore, you're starting. So it's the depth chart is really appetizing for some of these positions. But love this kid's tape. I mean, he gets downhill. This is as big of big time ball as you could ever imagine. These guys in Mater Day are probably the number one rivalry in all of high school football, I'd imagine, in terms of overall talent. Like I know Maslin McKinley and all these like other ones, but if you want to talk about give me a rivalry game where I can take all the players and put them on my Division 1 team, it's these guys. Bosco's versus Mater Day. Mater Day obviously has had the number 1 pick in the draft in Bryce Young, who went to Carolina from Bama. Mateo. I mean, you watch these games and it looks like good college football, and they're 2 high school teams. But yeah, I like this kid, Nevada. Nevada, I made a post today on BuckeyeScoop.com where I mentioned that I think that our defense is going to take a significant jump this year because of the fact that uh, we had 5 guys that frankly didn't get drafted. They're on our defense. They're all kind of out of the way. So you replace uh, Teron Vincent with Ty League, Jerron Cage with Mike Hall. You get Jack Sawyer down in a defensive end stance again instead of playing the wonky Jack thing. You get Sonny Styles on the field. Do you think our defense takes a significant step? Because the other thing is that a lot of these guys, they just saw the ESPN mock draft that had 6 guys going in the first round, and some of those guys barely played last year, like Jack and Mike Hall. But they're seeing like what people are saying about him. I'm really high on the defense, and I know you are too. But do you think this defense can take a big step and help out a young quarterback?
Well, I always say that with the defense, you're only as good as your weakest link. And I think last year the bottom line is we had some weak links on the defense, and other teams could find those guys and exploit them and punish you for putting those guys out there on the field. And this year, our weakest players have gotten better, as you aptly noted in your post. So no, I think the defense is going to take a big step forward. I think the defense is going to absolutely carry this team this year, and that's weird saying on a team that's returning 99% of its receiving yards and 97% of its rushing yards or something, some crazy stat like that. So, no, Ohio State's going to have that. They're going to have the prolific offense. You know that they're going to be able to score a lot of points. But I think the defense is actually going to be the strength of the team, and really, um, you know, I think it's really going to lead us. And I think Knowles took a bunch of criticism last year. A lot of it warranted for how we finished. Down the stretch against Michigan and Georgia. You can explain away some of it. You can't explain away all of it. But I think that they take a big step this year, and I think he silences a lot of critics. And I think a lot of people will be jumping on the Knowles bandwagon by the end of the year. So I'm going to save room for all the doubters on the bandwagon for you guys, so you can jump on old Nevada Buck there, and we'll be talking about the Knowles defense like we did about the Fred Puggich and the Silver Bullets, which is kind of funny to me because when Fred Puggich ran the defense and we were running the Silver Bullets and we blitzed, it was considered a good thing. I like the aggression. I like blitzing. I like going out on your shield. I like blah, 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 blah. And then if Knowles does anything and it goes wrong, oh, it's gimmicky. Oh, why were you doing this? Oh, you can't do that. And it's like guys, you got to be fair. You can't just you know yell when plays go wrong and applaud when plays go right. It's like you just be consistent. If you don't like aggressive defense, just go. I don't like aggressive defense. I want the days of Jim Haycock, and but I remember the days of Jim Haycock. I remember all the Ohio State fans just screaming about the cushions and how he hated that we played that type of ball and blah blah blah. So it's like, man, just pick a side, jump on it, and like I said, saving room on the bandwagon. There's going to be plenty of room because right now the bandwagon consists of the bandwagon and me right now. So all aboard the Knowles bandwagon by the end of 2023. That's my motto for Cinco de Mayo and for the rest of the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody loves blitzing and aggression until it doesn't work and you get scorched. I mean, that's like people, do you want Ben, you like bend but don't break? Okay, I hate that because it's soft and there's cushions. Or do you want like kamikaze, Greg Williams, blitz until you die? I mean, I just wish that there was a way to say, okay, what percentage of blitz do you want? How aggressive, do you want cover zero where there's nobody behind? Do you want, a single high where you're bringing one guy off the edge? Like, I mean, you got to kind of figure out what you really want. And like Jim Haycock, like what did Jim Haycock get arrested for? The Texas Fiesta Bowl where he brought the house and Anderson Russell missed a tackle and we lost the game. So, he brought the house and guess what? The house didn't get there. The house lost. And all of a sudden, we came up zeros. And so people, again, it's this fine line when you're calling defense between, like the first half of that Michigan game. I thought Jim Knowles had one of the greatest performances in the history of Ohio State football, given how they ran for 8 million yards against us the year before, and they had this really good running game, and they had this really good offensive line. We stoned their O line and stoned their running game, and then all of a sudden, second half comes, and even in the second quarter, they hit a couple of shots on us where we don't make the tackles. Cam Brown, who didn't get drafted, if he makes the tackle, we don't give up a 70-yard touchdown. If guys don't fall down, we don't give up 70-yard touchdowns. And again, and maybe that's the coach's fault that the guy fell down, and maybe should put the guy in that circumstance. But when you draw up a defense, you never put in a safeguard that, well, hey, our safety might fall down this play, so we better keep a guy back deep or two guys back deep because he's got slippery. He's got a banana peel under his foot, and he might come flying out from underneath of him. So, Again, I like the aggression. I like, you know, going out on your shield. I don't like giving up 45 points or whatever we did against Michigan. But again, at the end of that game, we were trying to get a stop. And again, like when you give up those long touchdowns at the end when you're bringing the house and trying to stop it, we were about a gap. We were like one guy away on about three of those plays, and it would have been a 3 point game, and we wouldn't have given up 150 yards, whatever it was. But again, at the very end, when you're trying to get a stop and there's not a lot of time left, it's kind of like in hockey when you pull the goalie and you're down 3-2 and you go up an empty net goal and you lose 4-2. Like once you're losing and you pull the goal and you're trying to score a goal to tie the game and in the playoffs or in regular season to try and get a win, once you have that extra goal, it doesn't really matter at that point because you're trying to get a stop and trying to win the game. Because if we lose 34 or whatever, 28-21 or 35-21. I mean, they both suck and they're both losses, but you got to do something to get a stop. And again, like if your All-American linebacker doesn't get to the gap and you miss it and the guy splits it, then I don't know what you're supposed to do. There's not a defense that's designed for when your All-American linebacker doesn't get to the gap. And I'm not knocking Tommy Eichenberg. I think he's one of the best players in the country. He's one of my favorite players of all time, but guys screw up sometimes, and that's the tough thing that you got to deal with when you play football. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Mike Hall can do, what Ty Lee can do. Again, I thought Mike Hall looked fantastic in the spring game. I don't know.
No,
It's
no,
going to,
yeah, but Kirk, I want to go on to one thing you said because I think it was
yeah,
spot on. It's the hockey analogy is so right. I mean, it'd be like if you're in a 1-0 game and all of a sudden you pull the goalie and you give up 2 or 3 empty net goals at the end, you lose 4-0, and you're like, we gave up 4 goals. We can't give 4 goals up and expect to win. It's like, well, no, we were
it's
pulling the
like who
goalie.
cares?
Who cares? We lost. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah.
that. Because I hear about the Michigan game and I feel like I'm watching a different game because, like, the first game, I mean, the first half, we completely dominated. The first half should have been 21-3. It should. We all know that it wasn't. Close game at halftime, and then we give up a couple of long plays at the end that make the score look completely unrelated to the game. That was a 1-score game. That was that I thought until late in that game that we were going to win. I was convinced that we were going to win, that we are going to pull it out, and we ended up losing by 21 or whatever the heck it was. But that wasn't a blowout. That's completely different than losing by 3 scores in a game where you're never in the game. So, like I said, I think sometimes people just like they want to make a point about, oh, this guy makes 2 million a year and this, that. It's like, man, he was a first-year defensive coordinator. He didn't just get the defensive coordinator wand and be able to go out there and go, okay, I dubbed the NFL player, zing. I mean, he had to play with the guys he was dealt. And a lot of those guys weren't great players. Now, I'll blame him 100% for Tanner McAllister because he brought him with him, and Tanner wasn't a great college player. And I think that we could have done better. And when you look at the minutes that Tanner McAllister gobbled up, and you just wonder what could Sonny Styles have done? Could he have
Oh
done
yeah.
worse than Tanner McAllister did out there? And how good would Sonny Styles be this year if he'd gotten the benefit of all that playing time last year? To me, that is an absolutely legitimate criticism, and I will absolutely go along with that in any time. But the you can't blitz because when you blitz, you might give up a big play. Dude, it's not like we blitzed every play. I mean, against Georgia, we were mixing stuff up. We shut them down for about 5 or 6 possessions in a row, where we managed to kind of mix some of our coverages, mix some of the things that we were doing. I mean, people act like we were just playing cover zero and or engage 8 and blitzing every time like a goal line thing on Madden, and that's not the case. But I mean, we'll see. Like I said, this year all questions are going to be answered. We're going to see a lot of Sunny Styles. We're going to see C.J. Hicks. You got to see some of these young guys that can make plays, and that's the reason why they're continuing to bring guys in from the portal. But like I said, room on the bandwagon, man. You guys can sit right next to Nevada Buck. So win a seat on the bandwagon with Nevada Buck in 2023. Join KnowlesForPresident.com. Thank you.
Well, I think that, we need, man, we just need to get this defense going. We need to get the running game going because, we got to go to Ann Arbor this year. And going to Ann Arbor is about as tough as it gets, about as miserable as it gets. And, when we went up there in '07 and '05, we ran the ball, we stopped the run. It's the most simple recipe in the universe, and we didn't give up big plays. So it's like, you go up there, I mean, you gotta, you just have to play the best, to the best of your ability. I mean, there's just no way. And again, we're I'm gonna break down this one play. I mean, I'm gonna break down the jack play where it's an 8 point game. I'm gonna get this juiced up for you guys so you guys can see it. So this is 7 minutes to go in the game. Your season is on the line. If you want to go win the national title, beat Michigan, kind of the whole 9 yards. 7.5 minutes to go. It's an 8 point game. Again, 28 carries
Blowout.
for
Blowouts.
what's up?
Blowout City. Blowout City, man. We're losing. We're getting bombed right now.
Yeah,
28 carries for 85 yards. They're just dominating us on the
yeah. I mean, that's impossibly good. Like compared to the year before, like that's less than 3 yards a carry. So I mean, that's impossibly good. Or no, it's right at three. It's like 3.0001 or whatever it is. So, I mean, compared to the year before, so we're out rushing them, and we run this jack look, and again, this is zeroed up. Your man across the board. You got your free safety in the middle of the field, and everything's fit perfectly here. You got your C gap player. Your gaps are all the way filled up, and Tommy doesn't get where he needs to go. And again, Tommy would be the first guy to say this to you. Like, this isn't me dogging out Tommy, but, Tommy doesn't get here. And, Lathan's eyes are concealed here by Denzel. And, it's out the gate. And again, this guy gets the angle on us. This guy can run. So, I mean, could Lathan have taken a deeper angle? Yeah. But, I mean, Tommy's got to make this play. And again, I love Tommy Eichenberg. This is not me crapping on Tommy Eichenberg. This is not me, because I think Tommy's the best linebacker in the country and should have won the Buckeyes last year. But again, this is the jack look, which I hope we never run again. This is Jack Sawyer. We got our nose here. We got our end. And you've got Steele here. He's your Will. He's your Mike right here. And you run this, and, we fit this perfect. But the problem is this center, Tommy's got to be right in this hole right here. That's his gap, the B gap. And he doesn't get there. Jack fits the A, fit the B, fit the C. And, this is, and Denzel's man and our safety's got to be the free hitter. And, if Tommy gets to his gap right here, this is a gain of 1 yard. And we're still alive. The game is still going. And again, and I love Tommy Eichenberg, but this is a play that he would want back. The center. And this center is one of the best players in the country. He won the Remington. He was I think he was the lineman. It might have been the lineman of the year of the Big Ten. No, I think the guy from Northwestern was. But this guy won the Center of the Year award that we've won, that Elfline won, and Billy Price won the Remington. So he's a great player, and he's holding the crap out of him. You see his arm outside, but Tommy doesn't get there, and he's reaching out here. And could that have been a holding call? Absolutely. But if Tommy fits this correctly, because we fit the jack correctly, we got all this bogged up, and he gets here. This is a gain of 0. So, again, you call the defense, and, if you say, hey, we're trying to funnel it all to our All-American linebacker, then guess what? He doesn't get there. Then it looks like this. So, and this guy does a good job of sealing Lathan's eyes and cracking them. And, these guys are going, and Lathan takes a poor angle. Denzel's Denzel's got to take a super deep angle to try and get there, but this guy can fly. This guy's a 4-4 guy. So, if you take the wrong angle on this guy, it's curtains. So, Lathan takes a poor angle. The guy beats him. And Lathan still has a shot to make this tackle, but he's got to get him on the ground. And like I said, Denzel's got to take his angle's poor too. His angle's got to be about up here to get there, and Lathan's got to be about there. But, this is game of inches, guys. Everyone wants to be critical of the defense, but that defense was designed perfectly. And the best player on our defense didn't make the play. So, again, that's why, I'm not as down on the defense as they are, because, I've played in games where we got just trounced, and it wasn't anything more than guys not doing what they were supposed to do, and when we played the, teams that blew us out, or I've seen teams that have blown us out where it was helpless, that was one thing. But this is one where, we're trying to get a stop. We're down 8. 7 minutes to go. We got to get the stop. We draw up the perfect defense and we just don't execute it. So, before
Well,
you,
Kurt, and let me ask you a question. If you know before the play, if you know that Michigan's going to be running the football in that situation, what type of defense would you call?
no, I mean, you call a defense like that. I mean, you've got you got
That's what you would call
yeah,
exactly. I
you
mean,
got
you're
everybody down in the box. You got everybody gap sound, and
yeah.
again, like you're trying to funnel it to your Butkus Award All American linebacker, and and there just was a lack of discipline. And again, I'm going to show you the next long one that was a 85-yard run. Because again, I here's my thing, and this is what I just say to you guys. Like, everyone's down, we stink, we give up all these points and yards, but like, just watch the tape because it's not like we're just getting bulldozed and steamrolls. It's like one guy doesn't make the play. Here, this is Lathan. Lathan, like this is funneled right to Lathan, and he's got to take the dive, and instead he stops and tries to do too much and take the pull. And watch, he stops. If he doesn't hesitate here, this is a 1 yard gain. But instead he hesitates. You see him do like a Euro step like he's a basketball player, and that's his play. This guy, Steele, or Ronnie Hickman, excuse me, is the quarterback player. You see it. So, again, it's just making the play, guys. So this isn't like wow, our linemen, our D line all got pancaked and murdered. That's not what it is. So again, you watch this big long run, all the that's 150 yards on 2 plays. Where if the guys do what they're supposed to do, and again, is that on the coaching staff? Well, I mean, it can be, I guess, but like there's only so much the coach can do when he calls the play. And again, this is a gap exchange. This is called perfectly. So you see. Gaps are occupied. The C gap players in the C gap, the B gap players in the B gap. These guys are good here. He's getting down in here. This guy has the running back, and it's a gap exchange. So then your other safety's coming off the edge for the quarterback. And again, I don't know if Lathan just lost his mind here or was trying to do too much, but if you look at this, if you look at this frame right here and gave me a bet, I'd say I put $1 million on Lathan, who runs a 4.40, gets there and gets him on the ground with this big herd of people. Because there's a little hole here, but it's not that big of a hole. I mean, those guys, their feet are almost touching. But again, this hesitation, you watch the hesitation coming off the edge, it kills them. So again, like that's just these guys just have to do their job. Like you don't need that. Like this is the quarterback player. You see him coming right for the quarterback. I mean, he would kill if this wasn't handed off. He would kill. Ronnie Hickman would kill this quarterback right here if he pulled that. But he doesn't. And honestly, I think this is an incorrect read. I think he's supposed to pull it here because if you have this guy coming down the line, there's no way that this shouldn't be anything other than a gain of 0 or gain of 1. Because if he doesn't hesitate here and he gets his ankles, you've got all these guys, and again, we're getting held here, but again, that's our fault because you're not allowed to get held. And again, this is Tehran, who didn't get drafted, getting banged right here, getting pushed out of his gap. He's supposed to be holding the A gap. He gets pushed into the other A gap. So again, like, you need Tyleek and Mike Hall to be better than this, period. I mean, again, and this isn't me being a big meanie, but, this is a 5-star guy that, again, he can't get bounced into the other gap by a little push from a guard. That's too easy. And this is on Tehran and it's on Lathan. And again, I'm not blaming these guys, because if these guys are watching the film, they say, yeah, this isn't good. This is, poor technique and a misassignment. It's definitely a misassignment for Lathan because this is Lathan's guy right here. There's no doubt. I mean, when you're in this gap exchange, I used to drop the cards on defense. Like this is a perfect call on defense. This is not executed. So then it's 85 yards because again, we're trying to get a stop. So these guys are off to the races again. So it's not, again, like you guys see, if all of our defensive linemen are just getting pancaked and put on their back and, just massacred, I'd say, yeah, we need better players. But I mean, God, guys, that's 150 yards on 2 plays because 3 guys didn't do their job across 2 plays. So I don't know. Like, again, I think that, you get better players in there. You get them, again, like I would be salty if I was some of these guys because, you don't think Tommy Eichenberg wants that play back? I mean, good God, he's made that play a billion times in his career. and he's one of the best linebackers in the country, and he just happened to not get there that time, and he got held. And again, and you get held in football. That's not an excuse. I mean, Wisconsin and some of these teams, they literally coach it and they just grasp these guys, and it's not called. It's not called. So, but again, I think it's one of those things where you watch it and it's just, you got to realize that, hey guys, like, the calls were good. I mean, when you're trying to stop these guys, you're an inch away from it. I mean, it's good. It's good stuff. But, that's why, like I said, we get better. I mean, because the guys that we're going to have playing this year are better players than the guys last year. I promise you, Mike Hall is going to get drafted. Like Jerron Cage and Teron Vincent did not get drafted. I promise you, Mike Hall is going to get drafted over 7 rounds. Promise you, Tyleek will get drafted over 7 rounds unless he, fails a drug test or weighs 400 pounds or whatever. But even if he goes like full DeWand and does everything kind of wrong, he's still going to get drafted just off of his talent, And even I think Ty Hamilton is the most underrated guy maybe on the entire team. So those three guys are going to have to play more this year. And again, there's no more seniority. There's no more playing these old guys that frankly aren't good because they didn't even get, again, they didn't even get drafted through 7 rounds. And those guys came in, they played a lot of football, and all 32 teams said, you guys aren't good enough for, I mean, Drawn got a contract, but I mean, Teron Vincent didn't even get an undrafted free agency contract, which is crazy. But, it just says what the NFL thinks of you. So, and maybe he'll earn a deal at one of these rookie mini camps he goes to. But bottom line is, like, we just need better play out of a couple positions. And, I think that's something that year two of the defense with, better players, I think that there's a lot of upside there. And plus, these third year guys want to go pro. They want to go to the league. So they got to have big years. These guys all want to get double digit sacks or 7, 8 sacks if you're an interior guy. Or else, you can't go to the league if you have 2.5 sacks as a third year defensive end. I mean, unless you're the greatest run stopper that's ever lived. I mean, you got to have some production. You have to prove you can beat college tackles before you can have any prayer of beating an NFL level tackle. So, what did you think of that, Nevada? We broke down 2 plays, 150 yards, and it was just like, yeesh.
Well, but I think that summed it up, though. It's like,
Yeah.
it's completely different if your defensive coordinator is one step behind the offense. If you're expecting a pass and they run, or you're expecting a run and they pass, or, whatever it is, he ran 2 different run blitzes into runs, and both times guys didn't execute, and it ended up being touchdowns. And it's like, that's what you want to call in that situation where you need a stop, where you need a negative play, where you need a turnover, where you need to, where you need to continue to, to get the ball back from the other team, and or you believe that they're going to run the ball. You run a run blitz. That's what you do. And so, like I said, I yeah, again, I know I'm in the minority on this position, but I think Knowles called it right. And I think Knowles did a lot of good things. We talked about the bad, but I think he did a lot of good things last year. And I think for whatever reason, the OSU fan base is just completely turned on him. And we don't talk about Ryan Day and how come we only scored 3 points in the second half at home against Michigan. I've never heard anybody mention that. Nobody even talks about that. And it's like, I wonder why that is. I mean, why don't we? I don't know why Ryan Day doesn't get held to the same standard that some of these other coaches did. Well, because he was good. Well, this was the biggest game of the year at home. This was for our season, and we scored 3 points in the second half. And but nobody talks about it. It's just it's really really odd. It's Ryan is kind of a Teflon Don when it comes to stuff because it seems like he's above criticism. He's above asking any questions about. But I have real questions about. I have real questions about our second half performance. I thought that last year that was that was jarring. And had we scored more in the second half, maybe the game plays out. Not maybe. I know the game plays out differently. We're not running those run blitzes. We're not calling that same defense. The game's going to be completely different if we're scoring, but we didn't. But hey, look, the bottom line is it doesn't matter. It's water under the bridge. It's behind us and on to 2023. And as I said, save this podcast, you guys. Like, click little save Nevada Buck thing on this. The defense is going to be really, really good this year. The defense is going to be. I think it's going to be. I think everybody at Ohio State, including the guys in the offense, know how good the defense is going to be, and it's going to be. It's going to be the strength of the team. Watch that. Remember, I said it, and hold me to that one.
Yeah, and even though the offense was kind of shorthanded with Holding Emeka and some of these guys, our defense really was good this spring. I mean, they really played well. Again, a lot of these guys took lumps last year, and then you add in a guy like Davidson Igbinosun, who's I think a superstar. I mean, he wasn't there last year, and he's a guy that I think should start this year. At a minimum, be share the snaps as like a second corner if you rotate three corners, but I think that the fact they're playing corners at the nickel slot for a little bit more help and coverage. I think playing Sonny Styles more. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be excited about. Year two of the defense, I think doesn't hurt. So it's going to be one of those deals where I think that there's a lot of motivation, and it's not just the old well, we lost to Michigan, we lost to Georgia, and yell at them, and hey, they stink, they're going to be super motivated this year. It's like, no, these guys want to go get paid in the NFL. They want to be 3-and-out. They just watched Paris Johnson 3-and-out, 6th overall pick. They watched CJ 3-and-out, 2nd overall pick. Jackson Smith and Jigba 3-and-out, 20th overall pick. Like, all these guys want to do that. So there's nothing that motivates these guys more than life-changing money and playing in the league. And these guys are all draft eligible now. Guys like Mike Hall, Tyleek, Jack Sawyer. They want to go have a career. And honestly, if I'm those guys that are in the back end, those secondary guys, and I just saw, damn, Cam didn't get drafted. Rocket didn't get drafted. I'd be sharpening up. Say, hey guys, what they did last year isn't acceptable. We gotta up it a little bit. If we want to have a career beyond Ohio State and you want to play in the league, you got to raise your game, and that's for Lathan and Denzel and some of these guys. And I thought Denzel was a lot better this spring than he'd been in the previous season. So again, money is the motivation for these kids, man. And I'm telling you, they have a real chance to right the wrong. And we're going to need them. We're going to need the defense to carry this offense at times, even though we're going to have all this skill and all this power. Like, there's going to be a game where, the offense is clunking and you need the defense to pull one out and get a stop. So that's just how football works sometimes. And when you've got a veteran defense with guys like Tommy Eichenberg and Steele and some guys that are really, really talented, really, really good players that are going to be high NFL players, like, you're gonna have to lean on them at some point. So, well, I think we'll wrap this thing. But good show, Nevada. Any parting shots on Cinco de Mayo? Happy Cinco de Mayo to you. Any parting shots for the Scoot fan that's tuned in today?
No, just excited to get back on the message boards and like I said, we had a good thread on it, expansion for the members that want to know what the latest is with the new Big Ten commissioner and what's going on with expansion. We got a great thread by the Oracle on that, so check it out. Got some interesting things going on a number of different fronts, and I'll see you guys on the message board. Appreciate all the support.
Also, we have to plug our gambling thread because our MMA picks have been absolutely insane lately, and there's a huge MMA card coming up on Saturday. Nevada, do you want to fill them in a little bit on that? Because you've been leading the charge straight to the money machine. Because our ATM, or excuse me, our ATM, our betting thread has been like an ATM machine lately. It's been crazy, and this is tracked action where you can see how frequently we're winning. But we've got a little syndicate going on the MMA on small circuit, big circuit. But talk a little bit about that as we close this out.
Yeah, we're literally up over 100%. So if whatever your bankroll was, if your bankroll was $50 or if your bankroll was $5,000, you'd be up 100% on your bankroll with us on just betting MMA, and we've got a number of different things. As Mr. Barton just mentioned, we not only bet the big UFC. We bet all the regional circuits. We bet cards all over the world. In fact, we've got a huge bet going tomorrow on Ryzen, which is a big promotion in Japan. So we've got stuff going all over the world. So if you like money, if you're not anti-money, and there's some people that just hate money, this is not for you. But if you like money and if you're a gambler and you want to make some money, subscribe to Buckeye Scoop. Check out what we got going on the MMA thread. As Kirk said, it's all tracked action. So this isn't just Nevada Buck and Kirk talking about, hey, we're doing really good. No, these are all tracked bets, and you can make a lot of money. And glad to share it, and we're having an awful lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's 13 months of tracked action, so it's a different world. It's incredible, and it's been really fun. So all you got to do is just follow along and place the bets as they place them. So With that, I'm gonna wrap this thing. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Happy Cinco de Mayo, Scoop family. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. If you enjoyed this content, please leave us a like and click subscribe. As always, we appreciate you guys. If you enjoy the live content, click that little bell. You get the alert. I know some of you guys are doing that because as soon as we log on, you guys are ready to rock and bring those great questions and comments. So appreciate you guys as always. If you want the best Ohio State coverage in all of the internet land, BuckeyeScoop.com is your home. Our board has been crazy today, talking about all kinds of fun stuff, but we love talking Ohio State football, talking gambling, talking NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. We have threads on pretty much everything imaginable, and it's a really awesome group. Thank you to our huge subscriber base. Thank you guys for being a part of this. So again, thank you guys so much. Well, shout out where you're from, guys. I love when you guys do that. It's awesome in the comments to read where you guys are watching from. So thank you guys as always. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great weekend. And thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. I will talk to you guys soon. Go Bucks. See you guys tomorrow.